I'm Tom.
I'm Camilla.
And today we're taking a look at Forever Home. Now, this is a term that I never actually... I've only heard this recently, and that's because...
Really?
Well, I just assumed that when you got a dog, it always... It'd stay at your house till it died anyway.
I love that you thought that.
Well, I would assume...
I like you more because of that.
I threaten all the time at home to get rid of our dogs, but there's never any sort of reality behind it.
I'm going to send you to a not forever home.
Anyway, I don't know. But this is the second game from Birdwood Games. Incidentally, their name being Birdwood, they're about dogs. The last one was Dog
Park.
Yeah. And this one is about collecting dogs, but you'll see it's about building shapes. Let me show you. Each player is going to get a board, which you can use an advanced side on it. That gives you some spaces here that will do various things. But what you're trying to do in this game is to get the most points. So on your turn, you have 3 actions. You will be drafting these cards from the middle to add to your hand. These are training cards. You can have up to 5 of them in your hand. Or you can draft one of these guys here and place them somewhere in your grid. Or you can move a dog in your grid to an adjacent spot as one of your actions. Now what you're trying to do is you are trying to build these training formations. So usually it's going to involve multiple dogs. So let's say, for example, I have green, blue, green. That matches this dog. I'll be able to play this card, which is going to give me a point. I also have to house one of the dogs. So I might pick the green dog or the blue dog, and I'll put them in the city, the suburbs, countryside, or foster home. So some give no points, but they allow you to home more dogs. And then there's going to be some in the game that will be worth more points. See, this one here is worth 2 points. So they're going to be worth a certain amount of points. This means the spots are empty in between them. And of course, fantastic art on all the cards. Now, why are you putting them in the homes? That's because you'll have these cards out here at the beginning of the game. Now, the foster home is always the same, but the other ones are going to be different. So this one, for example, you're trying to get different colored dogs into the city to give you points. The countryside, you want 3 of the same. And the suburbs, I want these. If I have these 3 and then a random dog of another color, I'll get 7 points at the end of the game. Also, you have a board down here, and you'll get points. These colored dogs are put here randomly at the beginning of the game. And so this basically says the most pink on your board at the end of the game will get 3 points of all the players, the most rehomed, and then the most in different homes. So the game will end when someone completes 7 of these training cards, and at that point you'll add up all your points, and whoever has the most is the winner. Okay, I think we can agree, once again, the artwork and their love of dogs is very astounding in this game.
Yes, it's very apparent, and I really think that they absolutely nailed it. I mean, if you do like dogs and you know the different personalities that come with different breeds, it's very apparent in the artwork of that. Like the Weimaraner, for example, is leaning up against the shape it makes, which my Weimaraner did all the time, and like putting his head up against you and just snuggling in. So it's like you see the personality if you're a dog person. They absolutely nailed it.
Now, that being said, it's barely there in the theme.
And then that's it, yep.
You're literally just putting these guys in different spots on the board, and it's a very abstract, put out things, make the shapes, score a card, and then they took it a step farther. You score the card, then you take some of those off and put them in spots, and hopefully you'll score them at the end of the game in various ways. Mm-hmm. And I don't have anything wrong with that. I was a little disappointed, though. I was like, Forever Home really doesn't have anything to do with that much. I mean, putting 3 of these Cocker Spaniels in a row and then sending 2 to the thing, that doesn't make any sense, but I'll accept it.
Right, it definitely is. You have to stretch for the theme a little bit, and especially down in your actual training, and training the different breeds, which is the patterns you're trying to get. Really, I think the strongest thematic is when you're sending those breeds up into different homes. But I don't know why you care. I don't care what the breed goes. I want them to go where I want them to go.
Is that a thing? They mentioned in the rules, they're like, you're having a friendly competition to see who can rehome and train them certain type of dogs. I just think a shelter wouldn't do that because they'd be like, listen, we want you to get them into good homes. Right. Not as many homes as you can. Because after a while, they'll be like, just take the dog.
Right, yeah. No, I agree. It becomes a scoring mechanism for sure, I think.
All right, so taking the theme out, did you like the game?
I did. I have to say this is one that the hook for me, the thing that set it aside from all the other games that came to mind when I was playing this, is based on the card that you play, you're balancing the number of points that you get with how many dogs then go into their forever home, how many you're putting into that top part of your board. And so you're trying to balance that. This one gives me no points, but I get to then home 2 of my dogs, which will go into end game,
Sure.
a different way to score. And I did find that to be really interesting balance of not just, am I going to take the guaranteed points or go into the end game points versus which dogs am I taking off my board and taking them out of the play in order to complete further cards. So there's a lot of different decisions to make in playing that card. And I think that was kind of the hook for me that I really liked.
I like it a lot. My biggest qualm with it, the thing that keeps me from liking it more, is I feel like sometimes the luck just doesn't work your way. Because at the beginning you put those dogs on that board, green dogs score, and also this card turned over and its green cards are even more, and like it makes green dogs really valuable. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, ooh, I hope I get some green dogs, and it just doesn't work out. Like there's one, and the person before you takes it. You're like, well, maybe I'll get lucky, and you just don't. And I also, putting the rows in the columns and making the patterns isn't particularly difficult, which is good for a lot of people. It's going to be easy going, but I found it to sometimes leave a lack of tension. I'm like, well, and I move these and get it. And the last couple rounds aren't as interesting, or the final round. Sometimes you're like, someone's about to score their 7th card, and I'm like, well, there's not a whole lot I can do. So, And because when they score their 7th card, it ends immediately following that round, which means nobody else might get another point. You might not have known it was your last play, or you have nothing to do, so your last play is useless. It's one short. So it can be a little bit abrupt, I think, in the ending. But overall, I think it's fine. It's enjoyable. I think a lot of people are really going to like it. So for me, it's a 6. But I want to be clear. I think a lot of people are going to like this because I think the dogs theme is going to attract them to it. I don't think there's enough dog games out there, frankly. And this is a great theme, right? The idea of rehoming dogs, and they talk about that even in here. And there's like a forever home. I don't know. I know I've met them. They're like very passionate about it. So that's cool. The abstract game, I think, is also it's easy, which is a positive thing for a lot of people. So while it's not necessarily for me, I can see a lot of people enjoying it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely saved. I don't want to say saved. I'm a huge proponent of the theme here. I absolutely love it. I love the art. If you want to sell me on an abstract game, make it pretty, give me a theme I care about, even if there's not a lot of thematic ties in it. But really what kind of clinched me on it, I think, was the play. If you're playing a 2-player game, it really is a 20-minute game. And so it really is quick, which kind of mitigates those lucky turns. Because it's like, oh, okay, well, it was 20 minutes. So this is a interesting filler game to me. I'm going to come in at a 7.5, 7.5. Because with that in mind, that it's a filler game with abstract gameplay, but it's going to play quick. It's going to have a couple interesting decisions, and then it's over. And I really like that. I think it kind of checked a couple of those boxes for me. If it was any longer, I definitely would not have liked it as much.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Forever Home. I'm Tom.
I'm Camilla.
And keep your dogs.
Forever.